Hello everyone and welcome to Fintech Asia Decoded. Here today with us is Alina, who is looking after business and product at InDrive, a very interesting company. Here at the Money 2020 Asia floor. Last 2 days have been quite interesting. We've done a lot of work talking to multiple senior executives and had a lot of good conversations, productive conversations. So I've loved the second edition of Money 20 as well. Alina, how have you found these 2 days so far?
Oh, I like it. It was super intense.
Sure.
I already tired, with this feeling that you are overwhelmed with all of the insights, talks, meetings with partners, but still you have energy. And I think that's actually the secret of these conferences, where you still have energy to have this talk, for example, today.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for joining us again. Tell us a little bit more about your career trajectory. You're now in Drive, but you've been in the industry for a little while. What brought you into this industry, and how did you grow into it?
Yeah, that's a good question, because I have also a mix of different experience in my career. As far as I remember, it started 11 years ago.
Sure.
And most of this time I was also in fintech.
Okay.
At first I was at a company called Kiwi. This is the biggest payment company in Russia. And it's famous by its electronic wallet, where you can also pay, send money, pay for whatever you want. But it was also about B2B business. So we also provided lots of services for large businesses, micro entrepreneurs, for example, pay-in, payouts. And there I also went through many career stages.
Okay.
At first it was about marketing research, to understand your users actually, so who are they and what they need. Yeah. Then I switched to marketing. Okay. So it's about how to actually promote your products to this audience. Sure. And ended up actually in product development, because for myself, product development, it's like a combination of everything.
Correct, yeah.
Users, marketing, technology as well, and business. So also there I was trying to build and actually build the open API platform. Okay. With the help of which startups can actually launch their own fintech products based on Kiwi Bank license and the Kiwi platform, for example, for issuing white label wallets, white label cards, and that was one of the best maybe projects back to those times. Yeah. Then I joined the Alibaba group, and I was responsible for the product development for the seller side. So it's all about how you as a seller actually interact with the platform, your seller cabinet, and everything you need. How, for example, to add your items, how to set up prices, set up promo, and so on. And then 2 years ago, I joined InDrive, and I'm so glad that from company to company, my team is also growing regarding also the energy.
That's
so
good,
as of now, I think that I have one of the best team regarding our spirit and willingness, to make really impactful products here. So I joined InDrive because InDrive originally it's a mobility company, and they also wanted to venture into fintech because they already have millions of users, and it was like a supernatural step to understand what kind of financial services they can also provide to them. Sure. And that's how actually our vertical was created. Now we call it InDrive Money because it's about money, but as we sometimes hidden, it's not all about money, because we also want to understand how actually we can again provide some impact. Yes, and do this financial products also impactful.
It's an interesting conversation, right? So you were first in fintech, then you got into e-commerce, probably and then two very large but distinct companies, and step up looking at the scale of Alibaba. How did you find that how do you engage or find that transition, right? So it's probably different business cultures, social cultures, but also scale is very different, products are very different. How did you adapt to it?
Really good question, because I joined Alibaba after 6 years at Kiwi. And Kiwi is a big company. There were like about maybe 1,000 people, but still it was super local, and the structure was super flat, where, for example, you can switch your roles easily. And after 6 years, I already felt, okay, I need a new challenge. And this large Chinese corporation was exactly what I needed. So it definitely wasn't the same, but it was super interesting to work also with international colleagues, Chinese culture and so on, and also understand, okay, how we can build this product like on a large scale, because I was responsible for the local sellers, Russian sellers, but also for the Chinese sellers as well, because these Chinese sellers, so they are the source of the items actually selling to Russia. And I learned a lot regarding how to actually be involved in these difficult projects, but still ended up again going back to a more flat structure. But having this knowledge helps a lot right now.
And so we'll come to InDrive now, right? They were into mobility. There are very few mobility players who have looked at fintech. Uber's done some of it. You do have Uber Pay in a few countries, but it's more integration with other players. And maybe you can say Grab as a classic example in this region, which is not just replicated the super app model of Alibaba and WeChat in terms of doing end-to-end, but also having that Grab money story, right? If you look at the Alipay or Ant app, in terms of mobility, that's with a partner, right? It's not their own, and there's Grab is their own. So InDrive's on one side of that, I would say, potentially now building on towards it. So we'd love to hear how that, from your knowledge, how did that transition from being just pure mobility to why get into financial services and fintech per se? What do you say is the driver, and how is InDrive working on this?
Again, really good question, because yes, we are definitely not the first one stepping into fintech from e-commerce or mobility. And from the one hand, okay, someone may say, okay, guys, it's too late. But when you're too late, you have also an advantage, because you already see actually what works and what doesn't. So we have this advantage of insights from all of these companies. Yes, Uber, Grab, Didi, Alipay as well. And we see all of the strategies they also use. So it also helped a lot to understand what is the best strategy for InDrive, because yes, we have some specifics. For example, InDrive operates in 48 countries.
Okay.
And that's a lot.
Yeah,
so
massive,
at first you also need to have a strategy regarding countries, and markets, because it's impossible to launch fintech in all of the countries simultaneously regarding the regulation, integrations. It's crazy about that. So that's why we started with Latin America, because Latin America is one of our biggest markets. We started with Mexico, Colombia, Peru, and Brazil. Then we also understand that, what exactly we want to solve. Because for us, there is no need just to, build yet another wallet, or yet another car, or yet another whatever. So we started with the users. And yes, as any marketplace, we have two audiences, passengers and drivers. And starting researching both of these audiences, we understand that actually among passengers, telling there is no challenge for them regarding finance, because there are so many companies, fintechs, neobanks, who actually targeting exactly this audience, because they think that they have money, let's just develop some product for them. So in our spirit as a company, so we're super mission driven, and for us it's really important not just to make like yet another business, but we also want to positively impact people. And that's how we actually found out that among the driver segment, we also call them gig workers, or for example, micro-entrepreneurs, because this is exactly what they do. They work for themselves, and they earn money, they earn a lot, but we researched that actually in all of these countries, they have a big challenge getting financing for their needs. Because once again, the banks, they don't know them, they don't know about their income, and they can't trust these people. And in the result, they, for example, if they need some extra money, and it happens usually. So they need to go to some microfinancing organization with really high interest rates.
Or a loan shark or something like that.
Exactly, and then they just pay twice, even more, the sum that actually is much cheaper for these financial organizations. So that's how we launched a year ago or even more. The first product in Mexico, we call it revenue-based financing for drivers. And it's a huge success for everyone. Drivers happy. We also see that they becoming more loyal to us because they see that we as a company trust them, and they also started trust us even more than before. And this is exactly about our strategy. So how we as a company actually want to build Fintech. Not just, come to the conference and say, okay, stable coins, let's do it. We started with the users, and we will continue, I think, within the same strategy because, again, we already see the success case. We will continue doing
So how's the model working in terms of, microloans tend to be successful on one hand, or sometimes they have a huge challenge in terms of, I'd say, the loyalty is a challenge in terms. Yesterday before we caught up and we were talking about the way the repayment happens, and I think that's a very interesting way of running it. So would you love to share more with our audience?
Definitely, because honestly, when we were launching, I was afraid. Because I also thought that, again, this is the loan, this is serious, and providing this difficult product to users, we should be super careful about the experience, because otherwise, if they quit the platform, that's like the worst scenario for everyone. And
it's on two sides. So one is you're losing the lending, but you're also losing a user as well. So it impacts two sides.
Exactly, and losing the user is no one in the company actually wants that. So we also designed the repayment, as you said, and we decided, okay, we are providing loan. In average, it's about, for example, $300 in Mexico, and usually it's difficult to remember how and when to repay it. And again, for example, in Mexico, your credit history is like your badge. So if you don't have credit history, or for example, they call it also bad credit history, so it's impossible to go to banks and ask for loans, mortgage, and so on. And we're also willing to help our users, our drivers, to rebuild their credit history. So we decided, okay, let's not just provide financing, but also help them to repay it. And that's how we also introduced the repayment with rights. So you as a driver, for example, got a loan, and then only one thing you need to do to repay this loan is actually to continue making rights within driving. We added the additional commission, in average it's about 10% from your earnings, which we just charge and provide this money as a repayment of the loan. And that's how we see a real low default rates. We see the NPS among drivers super high because for them it's super seamless. starting from the way how they apply, yes, because it's also embedded in the app. So no need to go anywhere, no need to provide additional information from the bank, because we already know you. Yeah, we know your data, your earnings, we score you, we provide exactly the amount actually that we know you can repay.
Yeah.
Because it's also not honest providing, price sums
Correct,
for
yeah.
these people and them just charge an interest rate of that.
Yeah.
So that's how we provide the sum you can repay, and we also help you repay on time. And then, if you need again, for example, money, you can just apply for another loan. And we see that, for example, around 70% of drivers with the first loan, they also take another one.
Okay. Which also it's an interesting way, right? Quite often when you're dealing with restricted income for people who sometimes are living day to day, that income pays for their day to day living. When they do take a loan, it's for, it could be for a special occasion, it could be for education of the kids or other elements. Rebuilding a lump sum, even if it is only $300, which may look like a small amount in the developed world, but in the developed world, it can still be a challenge to come up with that in a month or 2 months, right? It's a short period. So when it's getting small cut from the right, it's as you said, it's instead of paying X commission or paying 2X commission, but it's still the work is going on, nothing is changing much, and you don't have to concentrate on saving, which always is, I find, is the more challenging task for people to save up to, principle itself to save up and then pay back in lump sum becomes challenging because you'll always have some other thing that comes up, and then rebuilding that becomes challenging. So it's rewiring. You had EMIs which are monthly basis, but if you're rewiring the process and not being disruptive on a day-to-day basis, you'd say you're going past your day, okay, I'm paying a little more commission, but I got my lump sum. You could flip it and say it's like a bonus, right? So you've done X amount of rides, and then here's your bonus, which is what you got, right? And your commission is like your cash back in some senses. And you started with Latin America. You're now in Southeast Asia or coming into Southeast Asia. Do you want to talk a little bit about that partnership that you have and also what you see as a distinction between the two markets?
So, in markets, it's interesting that we found out that this problem is universal.
Sure.
And that's how we started in Latin America, Mexico, Peru, Colombia. But 2 months ago, we also launched in Indonesia.
Sure.
And it works in the same way.
Okay.
Also providing the loan, repayment of the rights, and again, it works pretty well. So now we're looking to venture also in other countries. We also operate in Philippines, Thailand, as InDrive as a company, and all other actually, Vietnam and so on. And for us, we launch around maybe one country per quarter. Of course, still you need to find the right partner for that. You need to check the regulation. You need to update the product as well. And luckily, at the end of this year, we will have more countries launching this product. But for this region, I'm also interested in payments.
Okay.
Because, as you said, for example, there is Grab and the ride-hailing and mobility competitors here. I don't know, they are the most advanced in the world. I was in Indonesia and I tried Grab because we usually test and go, and Gojek. Oh, Gojek, this is amazing. I have a story about that.
Sure.
So I came to Indonesia and I opened Gojek. There is GoPay. Yes, this is the wallet. And I don't have any Indonesian residence, but I actually managed to open GoPay account with my secret phone number because I live in Cyprus. They asked me to pass the KYC, and I even passed the KYC with my Russian passport these years. I know, it's unbelievable because usually if you're a foreigner, it's like super difficult to pass the KYC for the financial any product. I passed it, so they increased the limit, and then I even topped up the wallet with my Revolut European bank card. So just in maybe 10 minutes, I have a local wallet with a balance, and then I went to the cafe with my colleagues, and there was like a small store, and they didn't accept neither cash, nor cards. They accepted only QR codes. And I was the only one in my group actually having this GoPay wallet. So yeah, I was actually sponsoring everyone coffee. But again, this is the example. Yes, this is the mobility company at the beginning. And yes, they also ventured in this wallet. And this wallet is actually also so popular among Indonesians and other areas where they also operate. This is beautiful. But again, we're also researching how actually, for example, PS and Drive can also build it, because again, we're not the first one. And our strategy to be also super smart here, because otherwise there is a risk that you can just invest lots of money.
Correct.
And in the end of the day, you will be like, get another wallet, and you won't be able to compete with the current wallets available. Because again, we live in 2025, and there are so many really nice wallets available everywhere, and these local payment methods. So for us, we're looking for maybe launching also some wallet somewhere. But we're also looking at how we can actually improve our current payments. Because InDrive operates as a marketplace. You can even negotiate about the price with your driver. So actually you set the price, driver can either accept or say, for example, hey, I know, let's go for this price. And the most popular way of payment is cash. Usually it's like real cash, like real paper cash, but we also see that more and more people starting paying like cash, but in a way of transferring money. So depending on the country, they just choose what is the easiest way for them to transfer money. For example, in India it's with UPI. In Brazil it's PIX. Here it's with a QR. Exactly. And from the one hand it works, but from the other hand, we also want to simplify the flow, because sometimes you just don't want to ask, for example, hey, what is your, for example, account? What is your phone number? Just showing this, screens that, hey, I transferred money. So we're trying to find partners. It may be either like payment providers or maybe local wallets who actually will help us to build this P2P payment infrastructure. When, for example, we can integrate their solution and make these payments P2P, so actually providing the ability to passengers transfer money directly to drivers, and we just will help collecting some requisites from drivers where actually they want to get money. For us, it's about transparency, and for drivers, it's also about their money right now, because they understand that they will get this money right after the ride. And for passengers, it's about convenience. Just one button, send money, and that's it. We recently launched actually the pilot in Brazil because PIX is also so advanced. Exactly, and they already have this big scale as well. They already have this P2P API. And we launched the pilot maybe 4 weeks ago. And it's booming. It's great, So I'm here actually looking for some other solutions. Because Asian market is booming regarding alternative payments. So I'm here just to find also the right solutions for that.
This is a Money 2020, payments and money, right? That's the source way. It's been a great conversation. We learned a lot. We look forward to InDrive's progress in Southeast Asia, finding more partners, growing, and looking at you coming to other markets, including in India, where we have a very large gig economy, which I think would be very interesting for you to come. So thank you once again for joining the Fintech Asia Fintech Decoded podcast. Audience, thank you for joining us, listening in. Stay tuned for more insights from thought leaders and industry leaders across fintech and digital assets as we progress through Money 2020. Thank you.